Okay, let's move to a different topic. I've sort of touched on LLMs already from the point of view of chat and as an assistance to help you code, but they're also useful for writing functional code, for doing things like transforming data, taking unstructured data and structuring it, making judgment decisions for which it's hard to write rules and code for. And there's various commands like LLM synthesize and LLM function and LLM example function. And LLM chat evaluate for managing your own chat platforms. So one of the things that we've done there is to provide asynchronous access to most of those functions. So I've got a toy example here to try and illustrate what's happening. LLM synthesize submit is like LLM synthesize. It sends some inputs, some prompt engineering to my LLM, and it'll get back whatever the LLM has to say. But what LLM synthesize submit does is it doesn't stop and wait for the answer. So at the moment we have blocking operations that won't move on until the answer has come back or there's been a failure, and then it moves on. And in this little piece of code here, I'm going to immediately go on to print the value of some variable. And then I'm going to do something important, which is, in this case, wait for 10 seconds. But this could be doing things like updating the interface, waiting for more user interaction, doing some other computation. And in the meantime, this submission to the LLM is busy on whatever my LLM provider is, whether that's the Wolfram one or one of the other providers. But I've set up this handler function that says when its task is finished, so when the LLM answers, then in this case, I'm going to set the value of a variable. So what we'll see is when we run this, once I run this, we will get the variable would be printed. This print statement's been hit. It hasn't waited. It's moved on. Res doesn't have a value. Is now doing this important wait where it should really be doing something useful, but I'm just waiting. And the next time I ask for the value of the variable, magically it's been set by this handler function. So this is sort of set and forget. And then at some point when you look to see whether the answers come in, it hopefully will have arrived. And if it's not, then you have to then go off and do something else and check in on it later. So it's all about not having to get these sort of long delays. If you have something big that you need the LLM to do that maybe takes 10, 20 seconds, you don't want your whole code to freeze at that point, or you might not want to. Now, one particular sub case of that is that these handler functions can be attached to lots of different things. You might have a different action happens if the LLM fails to respond or rejects your credentials or something like that. So there's a whole collection of actions that you can add different events to. And one of those is content chunk received. And what this is let's make a bit of space on screen here, that if you're used to using a lot of the LLM providers GUIs themselves, you notice that the words stream back onto the page. And it's a kind of neat trick for the LLM might take 20 seconds to answer, but you don't feel like you're waiting for 20 seconds because after 3 or 4 seconds, the first bits of the answer are coming in and you're busy reading them. So by the time you finish reading them, the rest has all come in. And content chunk received is one of those actions to say, don't wait for the whole thing to be finished. Every time it's got something to say, do something with that. And in this case, I'm going to append it to my answer. So I'm going to start with an empty list of answers, drop my request to write a four-verse poem, and every time a chunk comes in, I'll add it to the list, and I'm immediately asking to display that. So what we get is this kind of streaming response is now supported within the language. So if you're building your own interfaces and you don't want that kind of nothing with a spinner saying waiting for answer, here's your answer. You want it to come in streaming. There's now mechanisms to handle that. And they also, there are other possibilities that this can be lent to, such as content moderation, where you might want to kill the response as soon as it goes off topic and not continue with the stream and like that.